Hey guys, welcome back to the Real Deal podcast. As always, I'm your host Keeona, and I have Zach and Drew joining me today.
Hello.
Hey,
What's up, guys? How you doing?
doing pretty good.
Pretty okay, yeah.
All right. And today we are talking none other than the show that has been a phenomenon these past few weeks, and that would be HBO's The Last of Us. The Last of Us.
The last is
The
us.
See,
It is us.
people always have to correct me on the name because I always get it wrong. I always say The Last is Us. I'm like, nah, that don't sound right. But the season finale premiered a few weeks ago, and just a warning, they are all caught up. I'm not. I finished episode 6, but I'm like halfway through season 7. And just another warning, there will be spoilers by these two.
Yes.
So just be prepared for that. But what do you guys think of it?
I'm curious to hear your thoughts first, Zach.
So, I played the video game for the first time a few years ago, and so I even played part 2. I knew about the universe, and even when the show was announced, I was skeptical because video game adaptations have been getting better over the years, but there are still a lot of stinkers. Like the Resident Evil movie that came out like 2 years ago, that was so comically bad and misunderstood the source
I
material.
never saw it, but like the Assassin's Creed movie that came out, I heard it was real bad.
I
it was
I
garbage.
I didn't see it.
I saw bits and pieces of it. I never
Uh-huh.
saw the whole thing, but just looking at it, I'm like, this just looks like somebody just put a whole lot of CGI in the movie without
Yeah, I heard it
a
was-
structure, a plot to it.
Absolute, for lack of a better word, dog shit.
Yeah.
I heard it was real bad.
Yeah. So yeah, with that going into it, I was nervous, but a lot of the people involved did give me hope. But I was like, okay, just cautious optimism, if that's the word, because the showrunner was going to be the guy who did Chernobyl, which is one
Yeah.
of the greatest.
Yeah.
That's I think. It's not my favorite miniseries personally, but if I had to say which one's the best, I'd say Chernobyl. It is so good. And then Neil Druckmann, the creator of the video game, he was going to be working as an executive,
Yep.
and he was directing and writing a few episodes. So if you need someone to adapt it, probably the person that knows the source material the most.
Person that made it,
Yeah, and the actors involved, Pedro Pascal, Bella Ramsey. Didn't know Bella Ramsey from anything, but Pedro Pascal was a
I
good
think
actor.
I've heard of Bella Ramsey. I think she did somewhat of a kid project back in the day, because her
was-
name does sound familiar.
I could be wrong on this. I think her first credit, major credit, was Game of Thrones.
Yeah, I
That's
think so.
why.
Yeah.
Season 6, 7 maybe. She was in the Lord, one of the minor houses in the north.
And Pedro Pascal was also in Game of Thrones.
He was
Yeah.
in season 4. He
Yep.
played
I'm not sure I
a
understand.
Lord. He played a lord.
Does Siri want to get in on The Last of Us?
Siri, go to hell. Really?
No, so with all that in mind, I went in very skeptical. The footage looked fun, but I was like, it could just be a good trailer. And that pilot convinced me. And especially the rest of the season, I really liked it. I think it's the best video game adaptation we've gotten. It did stay very faithful to the video game, but I like the creators' philosophy. When they were working on the show, they're like, okay, if it's perfect, don't mess with it. But if there's an idea where we could kind of build upon it, like episode 3 with Bill's story with Frank. If it's not from the game, but we could build upon it and make it better, then let's try it, because there's a great idea there. And I really like that philosophy because they do recapture a lot of the moments from the game, but I mean it's an adaptation. It's kind of like you expect Dumbledore to die if you read the books, from Harry Potter. So I didn't spoil
Spoilers for Harry Potter.
Oh yeah, spoilers for Harry Potter. Dumbledore is fine, don't worry. But
For a second, I thought you said Voldemort. I'm like, me and my friends were just talking about Voldemort.
yeah, but I loved it. I thought it was a phenomenal show. I can't wait for another season. What do you guys think?
Well, I heard that there were different adaptations of The Last of Us. There was I don't know, this is just from me doing research before we even started filming today. There were different adaptations of this video game before this version came out. I may be wrong about that, but
I know from Sony, PlayStation, they recently released an Uncharted movie, which was also awful. And I don't remember an adaptation of The Last of Us in any other way personally.
okay,
but,
then I may be wrong.
Yeah.
But so far the season, as far as I've seen it, but it's really, really good. And to be honest, I'm not really a video game girl. I didn't think that I was gonna like this show because it is an adaptation of a video game
Yeah.
that I know but I don't play. Like like the second or third episode in, I was hooked. Like literally. And usually, and I said this before we started, like I typically don't watch a TV show that gets like all the hype where everybody's talking about it because I'm trying to avoid spoilers as much as I can. So until the hype dies down, that's when I'll watch it. But people are like, you have to watch it, it's so good. So I watched it just to see what the hype was all about, and mainly because most of my friends think that Pedro Pascal is hot.
Fair.
Yeah.
Fair.
Yeah, so yeah, it's really really good. Like episode 6, like I may have almost cried and got a little confused at the end of it. See, it's been a minute because I watched the episode at least like 3 or 4 days ago, so it's going to take me a while to refresh
Yeah.
my memory, but
I think for me, I have not played or watched the games at all, but I was familiar enough with the story, just like reading online. I was like, I know what happens, and I was like, but I still want to watch it. My roommate is a big fan of the games, and so we watched it together. I was like shocked by how like visceral some of the scenes are, like how just like I'm thinking specifically of the scene right now in episode 8. I believe it's 8. They're in like the lodge and like the weird like Christian commune thing.
Oh yeah.
And like there's the fire and he tries to like assault her.
Yeah.
It's very hard to watch. Like the entire time I was like watching, I was like I want to stop watching this, but I can't.
Yeah.
Stop watching it.
Yeah. No, especially even the first episode alone, I knew Sarah was going to die, but I liked how they changed
that broke me so bad.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I knew that was coming. And now, like, another thing I want to bring up is that this show has brought so many people that haven't played video games, and, like, they're getting them into this, and they're seeing these big moments that people were talking about 10 years ago, and they're like, they just killed Sarah. And it's like,
she's been dead for 10 years.
yeah, she's been dead for 10 years.
Yeah.
I mean, if you say it like that, just like...
Well, we didn't know that.
Yeah.
For people who don't play video games.
Yeah, but, like, I was talking to my parents over spring break who just got into it, and the thing they just kept going back on, it's like, yeah, but they just killed his daughter.
Yeah.
And I like how they did that in the show. Like, they kind of subvert expectations. They have you follow her throughout the day, because in the game, it starts out at, like, midnight. Joel gets home, and Sarah's like, hey, here's your gift, here's the watch, and then the apocalypse happens.
It kind of starts like right as it starts.
Yeah, a few hours right before everything goes down.
Okay.
This one shows the day before like the outbreak. And I like how it follows Sarah. It's throughout the day. She's just doing her own thing. There's kind of glimpses of something coming, and then it cuts to midnight, and then everything happens.
Yep.
And
Yep.
even though I knew Sarah was going to die, just getting to know her was heartbreaking, because I knew she was going to die, and it's just like, I know what you guys are doing. I know what you guys are doing, and I like it. But,
and if you watch like the behind the scenes of, because HBO, I love that they do this. They put like behind the scenes on the ends of each of their episodes.
Yeah.
Like,
I skipped through those.
Oh, go back and watch them because they're very good. They're very
But then I'm
good
just
for them.
like, I want to get to what happens next.
That's fair.
So.
yeah, true.
But for that one, they were talking about how the actress who played Sarah, and I don't know the actress's name off the top of my head.
Yeah.
She had like the hardest role on this show because she had to seem like the main character in like 20 minutes, and we had to like fall in love with her in 20 minutes, and then she dies.
Yeah.
Like as an actor, that is a very hard thing to do.
Yeah.
And so I think she did wonderful. Actually.
Yeah.
I think she was fantastic.
And that's what I hated about it, because you start to love this character and you think she's going to be the main character, and obviously like I didn't know as much as some people who didn't know that like she was going to die. Like I really wished that she would have stayed, but then like again, I'm still like figuring out this whole world and this whole universe by watching the show. I was like, at first I'm like, I wish they would have kept her for like a longer period of time so that we could get to know her a little bit more. But now watching it, I'm like, it makes sense. It would make sense for her to be in it.
Yeah.
I am curious, and this is kind of a left turn, how you guys felt about episode 2, and specifically the kiss scene.
Okay.
Okay.
I remember behind the scenes they kind of explained it a bit, and it kind of made me think, okay, I kind of get it, but the whole thing was like with the kiss, basically their excuse was, well, she wasn't fighting back in the moment,
Yeah.
and so the infected, they won't hurt you if you don't really resist that much, and so
Yes.
that kind of made sense. Like the infected didn't work that way in the game. In the game, they work like zombies. They just bite you. They don't have those
mobs.
tendrils
Yeah.
coming out of their mouth. I did like it in the show. It was just another factor of creepy. Like the first scene where the old lady's just ripping through the guy, and you see all the
I had to
fungus.
pause the show at that point. I said, ew.
I literally had to turn away
Yeah.
and just semi-watch it with my right eye open like this.
My eyes were just wide. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, Granny.
Yeah.
Granny.
And to start the show like that
Yeah.
is like it's just such a visceral image that you're like, oh my god, oh
Yeah.
my god. And then the kiss scene in particular, that was another one where I was like, what is this? What's going
Yeah.
on right now? This is gross to watch.
Yeah.
Just because it felt like so
Unnatural.
Yeah.
and like almost like violating a little bit. Like
Yeah.
it was clear Tess did not like that.
Yeah.
That scene is stuck with me since I watched it. And it was
Yeah.
like, oh no.
And on top of that, I was like, okay, you're not gonna get infected, or
Well, she was already infected at that point.
Yeah.
No, I'm talking about it. Wait, Joel kissed her, right? Or did
Joel and
No.
her were a couple beforehand.
that? I mean, I know that, but
Yeah.
it just felt like it was like a who kissed who moment. So I'm just like, okay.
It was like the zombie kissed test, and because she was infected,
Yeah.
my understanding was that the network was trying to spread itself faster through tests.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it was just nasty, and it's again one of
Yeah.
those scenes that just has stuck with me. And I've not been able
Yeah.
to forget it because it's the tendrils, and then actress who played Tess, she did great.
Yeah,
She
she did
did.
great.
She did
Yeah,
great because
she
I was
did.
super uncomfortable.
Yeah. No.
That's the
Another
thing with
thing-
these HBO shows. Sorry.
One thing I do want to say with this episode of the podcast, we will not be spoiling part 2 of the video game because it is confirmed that season 2 and 3 will be adapting part 2.
Yes.
And even though I played part 2, I know what happens. I'm happy the show is such a success where I don't want to spoil it, especially because part 2, a lot of stuff happens immediately. So I do not want to spoil.
But it won't come out until 2025.
Really, they confirmed that?
Really, that long?
Because they said that they were going to start shooting pretty much like the end of next year, 2024, or the end of this year.
The end of this year, I think, would probably make the most sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially because part 2, knowing what happens, it is interesting to think how will they adapt this, and where will they
Yes.
cut off season 2 and go into season 3, and also there is a time jump, kind of.
That's kind of what I was thinking. I thought there was a time jump.
Yeah, there is a time
Yeah,
jump.
there is.
It's not too far. In the game, she's 14. In part 2, it picks up when she's 18. So,
Okay.
but the actress in real life is 19. So I guess they're still gonna wait a few years. And also, of course, the planning for this, these 2 seasons. So I'm just interested to see how these next few seasons play out.
Yeah.
See, that's one thing about HBO shows. They're so good, but then when you watch a certain show, it makes you feel uncomfortable, but then you're so sucked into it because I feel like the scenes in most of these shows on HBO, they're very high paced, but then they're also very well written, and you just want to know
Yeah.
what happens
Yeah,
next.
yeah.
And then, as much as I love all these shows on HBO, they take the longest time to come out. For example, Game of Thrones, they had to wait an entire year for it, just for the next season to come out. That was that was torture, at least in my opinion, when I watched Game of Thrones. But to say that the next season will probably come out in 2025, I'm like, really? But I get it though.
I think I would rather them make a good product.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get
And
that.
Instead of just
air it when
at
they
the
are ready, as opposed to
Yeah.
just churning out something for the sake of.
Yeah, I get it. It's
Yeah.
just that me just wanting more, but I get it though.
No, I did like how they used the infected in this season. So in
It
the
was
game,
cool. It was really cool. Yeah,
in the
yeah.
game, they're around a lot because it's a video game. You need to break up scenes with gameplay and just have
you
those
need time to
kind
shoot something.
yeah, you need the players to just shoot something because it's video. That sounds so bad, but so in the show they're not around that much, and
No.
when they do show up, it's a big event, and it's okay, someone's either going to barely die or someone's gonna die.
Yes.
The sniper scene with
Yeah.
that was insane.
What episode was that?
Episode 5.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah, and it also, like, I remember hearing some complaints about that, where they're like, there aren't that many zombies in a zombie show. Really, this show's all about zombies, and it's like, yeah, but also this show isn't just a zombie show. Like, there is the zombies aren't the
The
point of it.
zombies are like the atmosphere. They're the environment.
Yeah,
They're not
but-
even like the plot point.
The whole story is about love and like
Yeah.
what love does to
Yeah.
people. Like with Joel's entire storyline, meeting Ellie and everything, and just so many other people, it just shows what love can do to a person, like both the good parts and the ugly parts.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't have to have a full room of zombies to like, explain like to like prove your point of what the show is actually about, because you can do like less with like, like maybe 4 or 5 zombies in the scene, and then like, you could probably like recognize what that's all about from there, but like other than that, like I don't know, that's just what I'm trying to feed off here.
I think honestly the amount of like infected scenes that they had was like perfect.
Yeah.
Like, I think it was really well done. Like I think if there were more, I would have gotten bored of it. And I think every time the infected were on screen, I wasn't necessarily always scared, but I was always tense.
Yeah.
Like I was always like, oh, there's the possibility of this happening because they were so sporadic a little
Yeah.
bit. Like the scene in episode 5, like when all of them like pour out of the ground, like that was terrifying.
Ooh.
Yeah.
That was terrifying the first time I watched it
that gave me chills.
because but
like,
if they were in every scene, then I wouldn't have cared because I'd been like, well, they've survived this long and they've fought how many?
It would have felt like The Walking Dead.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I love The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But okay. I mean, if you two want to go ahead and talk about the season finale, then I'm cool with that.
I
but,
mean, twist my arm. Okay, so in the games, I was under the impression that you got to choose if you saved Ellie or not.
Nope.
Is it just you
Yep.
by
The game
default
forces you to
to kill everyone
in the hospital. Yep.
Okay.
Okay. We just brought that out. No. Oh my God.
oh
So, for context, Ellie they make it to the Firefly Hospital in like Wyoming or wherever
no. Okay.
they are. And they reveal as Ellie is like starting to get operated on that to make the cure they have to kill her because it's like the chemicals that are keeping her safe are like part in her brain and they don't have a safe way of doing that, so they have to kill her if they want to make the cure.
And Joel is being escorted out of the place. He gets the upper hand and he kills everyone and saves Ellie and drives away. And when Ellie wakes up, like, just like, hey, what happened? And he's like, there is no cure. You're good. You're good, dude. And lies to her face.
Yeah.
Oh,
and
no.
she knows he lied.
Oh yeah, because she's smart.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
It was heartbreaking 10 years ago, and it's, even though I knew it was coming, like, I love how they did this scene, because in the game, a lot of gamers think it's a happy ending. Like, they're just like, yeah, we gotta save Ellie, we gotta shoot, we gotta kill so many innocent people in this
kill
hospital.
all the bad guys.
Yeah, I'm
Kill all
gonna
the bad
use up
guys.
my flamethrower on this guy.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, it's a happy ending. Joel's the good guy.
Yeah.
And I love how the show restructured the scene to point home, like, it is not a happy
No.
scene. Like,
No.
they show how scary it is. And it's like, thank you for doing that, because there are so many people I know that are like, well, Joel's the good guy in this situation. And it's like,
he is the protagonist. He is the protagonist.
he is
He's
the
not-
main character.
Yeah.
It's just, yeah, but it is a moral, like, conversation that people have been having for so long. I find it interesting how that ending, it's got so many people talking. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
would you save Ellie or would you save humanity? And it's like, even though, like, I'm saying, like, oh, what Joel did was bad, it's still like, that is a hard question just to put on someone.
Well, it's because I understand exactly why he did it.
Yeah.
Like, I understand
Yeah.
exactly why he did what he did, but
Yeah.
it's, I don't know. I don't know what I would do in that scenario because obviously I'm not in a zombie apocalypse and I don't
Yeah.
have a daughter.
Even though the
Fair
fungus
enough.
is
Yeah.
real, but it can't hurt us. But, like, yeah.
Ooh, I don't know what I would do, like, cause like I don't have kids, but then like I don't know, like I feel like ooh, that is a tough question.
And
'Cause
I
I'm-
Yeah.
think the goal of it is not to like present this "what would you do" scenario, but I
Yeah,
think it does
yeah,
a good
yeah,
job
yeah.
of like doing that.
Yeah.
So,
No, I gotta say, Tommy was pretty cool. Just living in a
gotta say,
town,
Tommy.
playing movies every few days, just wearing a jean jacket, just doing construction, just living in a little cowboy town like in the apocalypse. I think I could deal with that.
I know we're almost out of time, but I do want to like touch on that. Is that I think it's very funny in that episode that they're just like, yeah, we're communists. This is good. We're and I have seen like a few analysis of it like through a communist lens where it's like portraying it as like, yeah, this promotes values because it promotes like community and like this is the only way to stay safe. And it's whether or not you agree with it, I think it's a very interesting way to do that.
I especially love the horse scene when Ellie's like, "Oh, it's a little horse." You see like one of the horse trainers like hands behind the scene, like holding the horse back. It's just,
Yeah.
a little behind the scenes, like just funny moment, but yeah.
Well, all right. But unfortunately, we are out of time. But I want to thank you both for joining me.
Yeah.
Yep.
A great conversation, and again, if you're watching this, like if you're watching this, spoilers have been said, so I would refrain from watching this. Just a little heads up. But thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys next time.
Bye.
Deuces.
Yeah.